Hey there, welcome to LSAT Demon Daily. I'm Erik Johansson, a teacher with LSAT Demon, and joining me today is Leslie Blodgett, the personal statement editor for LSAT Demon. Leslie is also our resident admissions expert. Besides working on personal statements, you work on supplemental essays, on your teaching an admissions series for our live students, I believe. You're working on a whole admissions course. So needless to say, you've been quite busy, and this is the busy season for you.
Yes, it is. It's getting into the busy season. So it's great to be working with lots of students and working toward applications opening.
Yeah, exciting time of year for us. Well, let's get into this listener email. This is from Anonymous, and Anonymous writes, "Hello, I'm preparing my written materials for next cycle, and I've begun looking into YX essays, especially for schools known to yield protect, such as Duke, UVA, and Penn. I know there's a lot of content about personal statements, but I haven't seen anything about YXs. So I would love to hear how you all recommend going about these. Any advice is appreciated." Great question. You're right. We do talk about personal statements a lot and not so much about YX essays. Let's start maybe, Leslie, with what this kind of essay is. What is a YX essay?
Yeah, this is a great question because this essay does come up quite a bit. And usually when it comes up, I would say it's an optional essay. So for optional essays, you want them to be quite short. You want to, and for any essay that you write or any addendum that you write, you really want to take care with it. Anything that you write is going to be important. So it kind of goes for any addendum.
Mm-hmm.
If it is required, because once in a while it is required, and in that case, of course, you do want to go ahead and do it. If it's a school that you hadn't really put that much thought to beforehand, you do want to look into what their offerings are, but don't just repeat back to them, what their offerings are.
Mm-hmm.
So really take the time to research, see if there are courses, instructors, clinics that they offer that are really a good fit for maybe experiences that you've already had, that you're getting into. This is a good time to, really think about which schools are going to be the best fit for you. You know, really the very biggest reason that you should consider for why you should choose the school that you end up going to, or even that you're going to apply to, is to go to the LSAT Demon Scholarship Estimator and see which are the schools that are going to offer you the best scholarships. So that should be kind of like the biggest why, but it's not
Mm-hmm.
like you're going to say that in the essay. So,
Yeah.
right?
I
So,
expect you to give me a full ride. That's why I'm
yeah, right.
applying.
But it's not like
Yeah.
you're gonna, so you kind of have to, yeah, exactly. Like read between the lines and
Mhm.
think about the full answer to the question for yourself.
Yeah.
But it is also really, even though we say that that's the very most important thing, I mean, this is your, one chance you have to really think about some of those other factors and really explore them. And so that's a great thing to do as you're considering your future career.
Yeah.
There are some also that just do not solicit it at all. It's not an option. It's not in there as any kind of optional prompt to do at all. So sometimes people really want to do it anyway. And so, yeah, if it's not solicited, we just say the best idea is not to do it.
Yeah.
Um, if you're the one person that, there's so many reasons your mom and your dad went there and it's right in your city that you live in, and I don't know, you just have so many, I encourage you to instead start to build a relationship with that school, even if it, if it is right there in your city, even if they don't do interviews, go and, you know, go there.
Mm-hmm.
Or if it's not somewhere that you can go to, just like the occasional, don't annoy them, but the occasional short email just to, I don't know, follow up about your application or something like that, or now to ask them something about the application process. If
Yeah.
your requests are short and sweet, then it'll be a good relationship that you're building. Um,
Yeah. I love that point. I think that's really good. Having spoken to and listened to admissions officers, it really is clear that despite the thousands of applications per year, there are applicants, individual applicants who make an impression, either for bad or good reasons. And writing a YX essay is not the only way that you can convince a law school that you actually want to go to their school. Having that kind of polite and pleasant dialogue with them, making the school visits, reaching out to professors, that sort of thing, that can be good. Cool. And I will just
Absolutely.
one question that I want to ask, because I agree with you. So from my experience as an applicant, there's kind of a mix of schools that don't require them because they just want to keep their application streamlined, I guess. Some schools that do require these sorts of YX essays. They're asking, why do you want to come to this law school in particular? And then there are other schools that, like you said, they're optional. And that I think is mostly going to be the case for schools that have YX essays. They're going to be optional. Are they actually optional? What do you think? Is it just optional in name, but really a serious applicant should write a YX essay whenever it's offered?
It really is optional. It really is optional. If you think you have something really good to say, say it and get someone else's opinion too, maybe about whether they think it's a really good thing to say. Maybe get it edited as well. But it really, really is optional. And if all you're coming up with to write in is just like copying and pasting from their own website, it's going to be annoying to them to read that. So, it is optional because you don't want to annoy them. And I have students all the time that are like, yeah, I'm just applying there because, it's a safety school or whatever, so I know that people are hearing this and saying like, yeah, okay. But also sometimes people need convincing.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, so yes, write that essay if you can make a real authentic case for why you want to go to that school. But if you're just going to be phoning it in and writing something that's kind of not meaningful, then maybe just avoid it.
Yeah, yeah. And
Good.
it can be really short too. Like one good sentence is better than just like a bunch of, I don't know, a bunch of fluff, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe I want to practice this type of law in this city. And I have a friend who does that, and they went to your school and they say the network is great.
Yeah. And actually, if you have a friend that went to that school and you're in that situation, I mean, maybe that is you don't want it to be all about then your friend and like, oh, yes, well, we know your friend's awesome. That's our student, but if you learned something from your friend about the school that you wouldn't have known otherwise, or you really have had, if you haven't had a deep conversation with your friend about it and all they did say was just, oh, yeah, it was great, go have a deep conversation with your friend about it. And,
Yeah.
you know, write a short, interesting essay about that conversation and about like why you're such a great fit for also for those things. Or, you know, it almost runs into, okay, don't make it sound like you're just putting your friend on a pedestal. I guess I already said that.
Right. Yeah.
So still make sure it's about you.
Yeah, still focus it on yourself. Great.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, maybe that's a good thing to keep in mind as we actually want to take a look at some of these prompts from the three schools that you mentioned. And different schools will invite you to write these YX essays with different prompts. And I think we have to be, your responses might look somewhat similar, but we should be sensitive to, okay, what is the precise question that they're asking with this essay prompt? So why don't we take a look at some of these and just talk about how we might respond to them, how we could actually turn in an essay that is focused on our strengths. So this listener mentioned Duke, UVA, and Penn. Do we want to go down the list? Maybe start with Duke. Duke on
Sure,
there.
that sounds
Yeah.
perfect.
Do you
Yeah.
have it up in front of you? So this is just taken straight from their application information on their JD admissions website.
Yes, I do. Okay, so for Duke, Duke actually has several short answer essays that are required, just FYI. But for this prompt, it's an optional essay, and the prompt says, you may submit an essay providing additional information about why you have chosen to apply to law school in general and Duke in particular. We are interested in the factors that have prompted your interest in a legal career and the ways in which you think Duke can further that interest. Please use 1 to 2 pages, double spaced, for this optional essay.
So this is sort of like a why law school generally and why Duke in particular essay. But I think we really want to focus on this is who I want to be as a lawyer, and this is why my strengths and my goals align specifically with Duke.
Absolutely. I think, you know, yeah, why law school in general and Duke in particular. One thing that brings to mind for me is that that might start to sound somewhat similar to kind of personal statement. Some of the things that we recommend you talk about for your personal statement is like a little bit similar, but not exactly similar. We don't recommend that you call out schools in your personal statement, for one thing.
Mhm.
But as far as like why law school, I think that's something that people think about as related to personal statements some. So I bring it up in order to say that you want it to sound different. You want it to if you want to make a point about your career goals, that it could even draw from maybe the same like if you're writing an anecdote for your personal statement, which is a strategy that we do recommend. It could be like a different anecdote from the same workplace if that's like,
Mm,
I don't know, if that's where your experience is, but you want to make it sound totally different. So yeah, I guess that's only one example of a way you could go with this, but that is something that comes to mind is like, that a work anecdote could be useful here. Just make it sound different from if you're kind of doing that in your personal statement as well.
yeah, don't be repetitive between your personal statement and your why Duke essay. Yeah,
Yeah,
good advice. Okay, well let's look at another one. What else is on the list? UVA. I think you have the UVA prompt up in front of you as well, right?
I do. Yes. Okay. So for UVA, they say UVA law accepts optional addenda. The application includes optional prompts related to specific interests in UVA law and the opportunity to expand upon relevant household contributions. I'm a little curious about that one, but I think that sounds separate from the
Yeah,
specific interest in UVA law. Household
yeah,
contributions. I don't think I've seen that one before. Anyway, should you wish, the prompt continues, should you wish to address other topics, please include them in the optional addenda section. When there are these, I guess I want to say when there are these kind of open-ended optional addenda sections, just I guess like it goes back to be wary of oversharing.
yeah,
Um, just because they're inviting you the opportunity to say anything, just be a little bit careful about that. But for the interest in UVA law, now this is on their website. That's all it really says. It's just interest in UVA law. When the application's open, I think we could see a more maybe there may be more to that prompt. But just as far as interest in UVA law, to me that says yes, they do have that option there to write the optional why UVA law essay.
yeah.
Um,
So
so yeah.
yeah, so the Duke one kind of gave the a little bit more specific guidance around we want to know about your interest in a legal career and the place that Duke has in that. This one feels a little more open-ended, just saying, tell us about your interest in UVA law. How might you go about brainstorming an approach to that, assuming that we do want to submit that optional essay and we want to whittle down this much more open-ended prompt into something more specific about why UVA? What would you think as an entryway into a short essay on that topic?
Yeah, I don't think that it's a bad idea to kind of, think about the route that we talked about with the Duke one, where, you're kind of thinking of, well, this is a way that I contribute, I don't know, in this example of an experience I had, and I'll contribute that way um, to UVA law as well. Or, that I'll build on that in my contributions to UVA law, show in a way that makes sense to them how something that you've done matches with with what you're saying are kind of the path that you want to take in their school, perhaps. So I guess that's one suggestion
Yeah,
is to say like, okay, here's if I go to your school, here's I see myself doing this type of law because of this and this, and I see that that's a really big, or I know that that's a big strength at your school. So they already know it's a strength at their school. You
Yeah.
don't need to go into that. You don't need to
Yeah.
over explain the fact that it's a strength at their school, whatever it is. You do need to go into detail about why that's also a strength of yours.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I
I
I
think that
think that is and if I can
of course, yeah.
maybe cut you off, I think that is actually that idea of focusing on your strengths is really highlighted in the Penn YX essay prompt. And they phrase it in a different way, but it's interesting. So I'll jump to that and read that. So the Penn essay prompt is these are the core strengths that make Penn Carey Law the best place to receive a rigorous, collaborative, and engaging legal education. Genuine interest with associated disciplines, transformative, forward looking faculty scholarship, highly regarded experiential learning through clinics and our pro bono pledge, innovative, hands on global engagement, and a manifest commitment to professional development and collegiality. If we were editing this, we might invite at least one extra period in that long sentence, but we'll let them get away with that. These are the qualities that define Penn Carey Law. What defines you? How do your goals and values match Penn Carey Law's core strengths? So to me, that sounds like it's actively inviting the sort of approach that you were just talking about for UVA. Focus on your strengths. Don't just parrot back to the law school the stuff that they have said about themselves.
Yeah, I love how they word that because it does. They give, I would think of the kind of the examples of their their values that they're giving as things that you could use as ideas, right, to springboard off of why that's also a value of yours, if it is. I would also say don't try to answer every single one. Like, don't say, yes, I am also all of those
Yeah.
lengthy, flowery things that you said, like
Yeah.
don't make it seem like, yeah, don't try too hard to fit it into every single thing they mentioned in their prompt. Think of it like you can choose one, maybe two of those ideas and run with it and make it about you.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
To just inventing this off the top of my head, but you might say, ask not what Penn can do for you, ask what you can do for Penn, right? I don't just,
Yeah,
I
yeah, I
come up
love
with these all the
it.
time. That was just completely off the top of the dome.
I love it. That's perfect.
Okay, cool. Well, great. So to recap, don't just copy stuff off of their website. Look to make it about your strengths and about what you can bring to the law school. See if you can ground it in actual things that you've done. Consider working in an anecdote that proves your interest in the law. Don't just make it redundant with your personal statement. Anything else that we should add to that?
I would say, you can mention something like location. That just came to mind because a lot of people want to talk about the location. And I mean, it's just it's not going to convince them they're already there. It's not going to convince them to let you also come and be there, as much as you love it. So yeah, you could mention it if you want, especially if it's like, I mean, if you really know the area, then you have connections maybe that you can talk
Mm-hmm.
about rather than just, I love the weather or something. But
Yeah.
it isn't it like you can have like one sentence about how you like it there because they do also want nice, happy people that are going to fit in well. So I don't know if you're already writing one and it makes sense to casually, I don't know. I think that's more of a just be a friendly, sound friendly in it in
Yeah.
general than being about the location. So yeah, just sound friendly in general. So yeah, I think that was a great recap and I hope
Excellent.
that it helps people.
Yeah, thank you so much to the listener who sent this in. Hopefully that was helpful. And Leslie, thanks to you for coming on and sharing your wisdom. If our listeners want to reach out, ask you a question, maybe work with you on a personal statement review, how can they do that?
You can email me, Leslie, Leslie, at lsatdemon.com. You can also just go right to the website to the tutors page and I am on there. So you can just click on me and fills out a nifty little form that I get, and then we just schedule a date.
Excellent. Well, thanks again so much.
Thank you, Eric.
Email daily@lsatdemon.com if you'd like to ask us a question or share some LSAT or law school admissions news. Thanks for listening.